what are the actual traits? Well, the way the diagnosis of personality disorder works, and this is really kind of ugly science, it's just how we do it, it's ugly assessment, is you give people a list of qualities or a list of descriptors, and you say, do you match 5 of 9 of these? And with narcissism, it's literally, I'll read them to you, but literally it's like, hey, do you have 5 of 9 of these traits or these features, and do they cause significant impairment? Meaning, do I check 5 of 9 of these boxes, and do each of the boxes I check cause you significant impairment in life? That's how you do this. The disorders differ. Sometimes it's 5 of 9, sometimes it's 4 of 7 or whatever, but it's usually some weird combination of traits that you add up. Again, it's just kind of it's an unfortunate assessment system. So this is the basic description. Narcissism or NPD, a pervasive pattern of grandiosity in fantasy or behavior, need for admiration and lack of empathy, beginning by early adulthood and present in a variety of contexts, is indicated by 5 or more of the following. So that's your basic overall description of narcissism, which should sound familiar to you at this point. But what's interesting about that is it's got all these key terms. Pervasive pattern. What that means, pervasive. It's pervading all aspects of your life. In fantasy or behavior. That's cool because the grandiose people are going to do this in behavior. The vulnerable people are going to do this in fantasy. So you can have this narcissistic life that's a fantasy life. Walter Mitty. Yeah. Need for admiration. That's interesting. That's the self-regulation piece. I need a social world that's going to help boost my ego. I can't just do it on my own. I need a social world. So I need for admiration. Lack of empathy. That's what I've talked about. Lack of social connection with people. And then beginning in early adulthood. So again, this is part of your character. It's something about your personality. It's not that you just discovered cocaine when you visited Miami in 2016. Wow, 2023, what year are we? I don't even know anymore. That's so bad. I keep pretending it's the 80s. Like I wake up in the morning. This is like my delusion. I'm like, maybe it's 1985 again and everything's awesome. I'm like, darn it. Just getting so old. So 5 of 9. So what are 5 of the 9? What are the 9? Well, first, number 1, has a grandiose sense of self-importance. So that means you exaggerate achievements, you exaggerated talents, you expect to be recognized as superior without I hate that word. You expect to be recognized as an expert without actually achieving anything. So the grandiosity, this self-importance has to be something that's a little bit inflated, meaning it's not real, and it has to cause you problems. So to be, so you think you're a big deal, and that causes you problems. How would that cause you problems? Well, maybe other people don't recognize it, so they're always saying you're not as cool as you think, or you're doing dumb stuff, like you're acting like an expert when you don't know what you're talking about. 2, is preoccupied with fantasies of unlimited success, power, brilliance, beauty, or ideal love. So this is a more fantasy aspect of narcissism. And what's interesting about this is you have these classic fantasies. I want to fantasize about power. I want to fantasize about success, but also ideal love. So sometimes what you hear in the clinical descriptions of narcissism is the fantasy is I'm going to find the perfect partner and I'm going to have the perfect marriage or the perfect relationship, and that's going to be my manifestation of narcissism. Otherwise, it's going to be classic. I'm going to be a superstar. I'm going to be a celebrity. I'm going to be a footballer. I'm going to be a whatever, whatever cool thing you want to be, a professor. That's kind of the pinnacle, I like to tell you guys. Sorry. It used to be cool. It used to be cool to be a professor. So that's 2. 3, believes that he or she is special and unique and can only be understood by or associate with other special or high status people or institutions. This is where you find people getting ego from their group or their institution. So this is the I went to the Ivy League flex, or people, they'll put where they worked. Oh, I worked at this tech company flex. Or it's just a general feeling that I should be with cool people and other people are beneath me, like that below the line. So there's people I should be with that are above the line people, and they're the bad people below the line. I just don't want them in my life because they bring me down and they're kind of dirty and gross, and some of that dirty grossness might rub off on me. Number 4, requires excessive admiration. This one kind of makes sense, but it's also a judgment call. What's excessive admiration? I require a little admiration just every once in a while. I just want my dog to at least, come when I come home, and maybe it'd be nice to get an attaboy or something. Like a little admiration would be good, but excessive is the problem. See, this is where it becomes a clinical thing. What is excessive admiration? It's like I need my back patted all the time, or I always need to be in the limelight, or I always need to have attention. And it's weird. You can see the narcissism, and I'll probably say this 40 times in this course, but when you hang out, like I'll hang out with a group of high status guys, and not one guy will say, I'm an alpha male or I'm a big deal. Anybody who's like, I'm an alpha male, you go, I know one thing, you're not an alpha male. I don't know anything else about you except you're kind of not alpha for saying that. So this idea of requiring attention, acquiring admiration is kind of interesting. I think it's hard to define, but I think it's kind of cool. So that's number 4. Number 5 on our top 9 narcissistic traits is having a sense of entitlement, which we talked about a little bit before. So an unreasonable expectations of especially favorable treatment or automatic compliance with his or her expectations. So what that means is I, in my mind, feel that I am the king of England. In my head, Queen Elizabeth, she was there so long, it's hard to remember she's not there. So I walk around life like I'm a little king. I'm a little Lord, little Lord Keith. And when I go to the Starbucks, I'm like, what'd you like? And I'm like, Lord Keith would like this. And they're like, sorry, I'm still making this mochaccino. And then I get enraged because no one's paying attention to me. So it's unreasonable expectations. One thing I should say here is you do have reasonable expectations to be treated well. There is a reasonable amount of entitlement. Like people should expect that people treat them with respect, with courtesy, as a human being who has a soul. Like it's not that you have to hate yourself. It's just when you go around thinking you're little Lord Fauntleroy or whoever, that can be a problem. So sense of entitlement is number 5. Number 6 is interpersonally exploitative. I like that word. Interpersonally exploitative, that means you exploit people or take advantage of them. You use people as tools or props, or you use them in an instrumental way, or you use people as means towards an end. People are just like things if you're narcissistic. This is what I find this really interesting. When we talk about relationships, you'll see this. Like, I got a great looking girlfriend. Would you trade her for a Porsche? Sure, why not? Because they're the same thing. They do the same thing for me. They're both about ego. I get more ego from a Porsche than a girlfriend. I'll take the Porsche. When you hear that, if you're a human being with a soul, you go, that's a little dark, man. That seems a little mean. That's because you're not interpersonally exploitative. So that's the exploitation piece. It's taking advantage of people, manipulating people. 7 is a lack of empathy and unwillingness to recognize or identify with the feelings and needs of others. As I said before with narcissism, it isn't that, I think this is something Jennifer Aniston said about Brad Pitt, and if I'm wrong, I probably could be wrong, so don't quote me on it, but it was like he lacks an empathy chip. I think that was the line. I like that line. It stuck with me. But that's not classic narcissism. It's not necessarily you don't, like I said before, you can see people. You can take people's perspective. You're not totally blind to people. It's just you don't care that much. You're just like, yeah, I put you on a scale and me on a scale, and I just weigh a little more than you. I just matter a little more. That's more what you're seeing with narcissism. It's not just this totally cold psychopathic stuff. It's more just I matter more. 8 is often envious of others or believes that others are envious of him or her. This is an interesting item. It's what we call a classic double-barreled item. Never write items like this if you're a psychologist, because it can mean either thing. Either I'm envious of people or I think people are envious of me. The reason it's written like that, which you're probably starting to get right now, is it's trying to capture vulnerability and grandiosity. So people who are vulnerable are out there thinking that they're envious of people. How come you have that? Why do you get all that? I deserve that. I'm better than you. How come you have all those cool things? People are grandiose, are walking around going, yeah, everybody wishes they were me. You know, it's both about envy. It's both about status, but one's more like I got it and everybody wants it. And one is more like I'm craving, I need to get it. One's deficit, finding status, and one is having it and just kind of showing it. And finally, the final one is shows arrogant, haughty behaviors or attitudes. So this is displays of arrogance or haughtiness that are clinically impairing. My favorite, I don't know, it's kind of my favorite example of this. This was in Sun Valley, I was or maybe Ketchum, I don't know if I can't remember, at a cocktail party with a very wealthy group. And one of the guys at the cocktail party came up to me and introduced himself with a cocktail in hand, and he was wearing an ascot, like Thurston Howell on the Gilligan's Island. This is way before your time. You know what an ascot is? Like kind of a rich guy's tie. No one wears them. He was wearing an ascot. I thought, this guy's awesome. I got to talk to this guy. So he tells me how he was in the mountain division, whatever, in World War II, like the skiing military guys. And I'm thinking, dude, you're not old enough to be in the mountain division, but that's okay. And then he tells me his kid got into Harvard and Yale's overrated. So I was like, dude, you're a legend. I'm just making notes. Really nice conversation. I told you, I get along with narcissists just fine. The entitlement I don't like. He was funny. And then I talked to his wife later that night. I think she'd had a few drinks and she knew what I did. And she goes, I think my husband might be a little narcissistic. I'm like, really? Did the ascot give it away? But I didn't say that. It's like, that's haughtiness, that kind of haughty, arrogant, stuck up. It's a real turnoff. It's a turnoff to some people, but it also works. People, if I was wearing an ascot right now in a suit, you guys would think, like, God, that guy's got it. He's got something going on, So it would work for a while, but then you'd eventually, after you get to know me, you go like, yeah, douchebag. I can't believe I just said that on mic. I tried to hide it, and then I realized the mic was right. I was hiding it in the mic right there. They picked it up extra. Yeah. So anyway. I'm talking so much. So those are that's the description of NPD. Those are the literal descriptors clinically. 5 and 9, cause impairment, you're diagnosed.